Welcome to the GT Observer podcast. I'm Joe Allen. That's Keith Gibbons.
And we need a producer.
Yeah, we spent an hour with technical difficulties before now, and then still blew it up on the start.
Yep. There we go. Right out the gates. But anyway.
So June 23rd is the council meeting that we're covering today.
It was a quick one. It was very short. There was not a lot of people attended it. I know myself, I was in one of the longest meetings of my life.
Man.
But, the council meeting was very quick. And I guess before we get started, that reminds me that my opinions are my own and not the views of anyone else on the Gloucester Township Board of Education. I do not represent the board, just myself. Anyway, let's get into what did happen. There was no public comments on agenda items only, right?
Several weeks in a row now.
This format is working well.
Yeah, this squashing the residents down so it doesn't even matter if you talk or not is actually really, really working out well for them. So it's no public comment. You know what? We didn't even have eGov either.
Yeah, there was no eGov.
People gave up on eGov. They just give it up. The room was probably empty, I would imagine, other than I think Denise and Brian were there. And one of the
one lady from La Cascada.
Yeah, that was.
We'll get into that. She announced something earlier.
She made a bad choice.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
There was an ordinance for what was this one here?
So we had a couple ordinances.
Extending a board.
Yeah, was I guess extending Independence Boulevard to County Highway Cross Keys Road. That went through. There was a public hearing for it. That was the second reading. Nobody spoke on it. It was passed. If you want more details on it, the agenda is still online. The next one was to introduce and vacate a portion of Bringhurst Avenue within the township. That was first reading. If that affects you at all,
there will be
at the next meeting. There will be the second reading and a public hearing for it. Resolutions 244, 245, 246 were basically just more amendments to the budget.
Yeah, there was a lot of reading of numbers, but that was pretty much it. Amending the budget.
New revenues or revenues that they didn't account for, and then expenses that they didn't account for. So I know somebody posted online about all these major changes to the budget, and they're like, oh, they're spending all this extra money. Now there's some revenues that they don't anticipate, or they do anticipate revenues that don't happen, and then there's expenses that I would like to say expenses that didn't happen, but that's not rare. That's pretty rare. But expenses that they didn't think of, so they kind of wrap that onto the budget now that the budget is getting ready for approval.
I have nothing to add. I was just listening to see how long you would talk about it.
Mid-year, so it's kind of it's almost July, and we're
really actualizing the budget, half of the year's budget.
Yes.
Which was always something that frustrated so many people. Were like, how do you not know? How are you putting in there? I'm trying to think of an example, the pool revenues. How do you not know how much the pool's sold out? It's done. There's no more sale going on. How is that not an actual number?
And I feel like it sells out every year too. So just automatically,
right?
Just automatically,
we didn't account for all that. Actually,
and you know what? It's not like the pool that the cost of in-ground pools went down drastically. So everybody's gonna be like, I don't need to go to the pool anymore. We all bought in-ground pools.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure the pool's always going to be sold out.
Well, and as we keep adding more and more residents to town, there's more and more people.
Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of public pools now.
Yeah.
Just a lake.
But then we went into authorizing issuance of
bonds. Yeah, in the sum of $32,415,000 into bonds, basically. So we're taking, from what I gather, if I understand this correctly, we take all of the short-term loans that we have, we roll them up into basically 10-year bonds, and then they put those out to bid so that investors can buy the bonds. So it's basically $32 million goes into long-term
Right,
loans,
moving from
essentially.
short-term to long-term debt.
And then they authorized the issuance of sale of up to $2,285,000 in bond anticipation notes. So that is short-term borrowing for now that we've added on. So like basically we borrowed an additional $2.2 million, which I think is actually the max per year that you can borrow.
I'm not sure.
So from what I gather, that is $2.2 million in short-term debt that we added on to the budget this year. Or
you can't put it now. You got to do it for later on. So when we're accumulating debt, we're promising to tax you later is what it is. We're not going to do it now. We got an election going on, so we can't raise taxes now.
That's
borrow.
That's one of the biggest things to understand is anytime you see borrowing on there, we're just going to tax you later.
Yeah.
It's not convenient right now because we got to win an election, right? So we're going to tax you later.
Yeah.
When you forgot.
We'll get you later on.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
GT.
Yeah, the Ego of Access was next, and there was nothing came up for that one.
Nothing there either. This is like
That was a quiet week. Well, it's summertime.
No.
Everybody's away doing their own, summer thing.
No Ego. Like nobody was just sitting home lonely, just been like, you know what?
No.
I just want to ask some questions that they're not going to answer. Hey.
Well, Denise showed up though. She is very faithful to showing up to these things and making sure she holds them accountable. And she is currently on the kick of trying to get an answer for weeks and weeks now, and really is getting nowhere. They will not admit to doing anything wrong.
This
seems improper.
This thing is crazy. I mean, we played a couple weeks ago. I think it was 2 podcasts ago. We played this clip from the mayor where he's over at the Nike base and he's talking about all the stuff he's going to put in.
Well,
and
I think
they
it was
partnered
at the beginning of May because it was the business meeting, and it was. I feel like May 8th or
sounds about right.
Or sticks around.
Because we didn't play on the podcast for like a couple weeks after he played it.
Maybe it was the 22nd. It was later. It was in May at some point. We're almost done now.
Yeah, I think the initial video that he did online was early, and then I think we covered it like 4 weeks, probably about a month ago.
A few weeks.
Now.
She's been asking the same questions. But
this was that thing where like we were promising all this stuff's coming in. It was this big kind of this is all the stuff we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm following up on the council's handling of the proposed redevelopment of the Nike base by the Michaels organization and the responses provided at the last meeting to 8 questions I raised on May the 28th. While some questions were answered, several were not accurate, and important legal and procedural issues remain unresolved. This is not about whether I read the agenda closely enough.
Yeah.
It's not about whether council acting as the redevelopment entity followed proper legal procedures under the local redevelopment and housing law. When council acts in that role, especially involving township-owned land, it must do so formally and publicly. That did not happen here. A resolution designating an interim or conditional redeveloper should have been the subject of a public discussion before any vote. It wasn't, and that failure is not the fault of the public. Designating a conditional redeveloper is not routine. It should have never been placed on a consent agenda without discussing. Doing so sidestepped transparency and short-circuited public accountability. At a minimum, it appears this process did not comply with the public process the law envisions for redevelopment actions involving township-owned land. At the last meeting, the council president said the agenda was posted and that residents had an opportunity to ask questions. That's gaslighting. It shifts the blame to the public for not reacting to an action that wasn't properly presented. So I'm asking, whose responsibility is it to ensure agenda items are posted appropriately and according to the law? Who decided this redevelopment resolution belonged on a consent agenda? Because I know it wasn't me.
Also, it stated that process was not, we did not comply with a process. A conditional approval was provided by council. This developer still would have to go in front of the redevelopment entity and still would have to go in front of the planning board. As far as who posts the agenda and is responsible for it. On Thursday afternoon, I receive a draft of the agenda that the clerk puts together, and I approve that agenda, and that agenda is forwarded to my colleagues on council, and then it is posted there. So regarding who decided what's placed on the agenda, I decide the agenda.
Okay.
All right. So, if you haven't followed this before, like we said, that big announcement that we partners with the Michaels organization. Mm-hmm. What Denise is saying is, before you ever made an agreement to partner with any organization,
right,
this should have gone in front of council.
Before the mayor is the one that announced this, that there was a partnership. That
this should have gone in front of council, because council is the redevelopment entity because of the designation of the way we have the town set up. So, and she's saying that didn't happen, and at most, all we got was a line on the consent agenda, so it was never actually talked about. Because
Again, the consent agenda is basically a lot of routine things that goes down. That's what she said. This is not a routine thing. This, approving a conditional developer or
none of this stuff is addressed individually. They basically just vote on, do we approve the consent agenda for this week, and they say yes. So there's no discussion at all. That's the issue that she has here. Next, she has been asking for several weeks now for answers from the Township Solicitor, and he didn't get it. He was going to give her the answer the following week, and then the following
week, Orlando answered it, and his answer was, "Yeah, that's actually exactly what I would have answered as well." So now apparently, Council President is also the solicitor. Maybe, I don't know.
I also want to address the Township Solicitor's role. At the May 28th meeting, he said he would respond to my questions at the next meeting. But no answers were provided to me beforehand, not before the meeting started, and not up to the second public portion. That forced me to use my only public comment time just to follow up what I had already been told would be addressed. That is what I objected to, and also what I tried to prevent. And when the responses were finally given, the council president provided them, and the solicitor simply agreed with the responses.
Review those questions, or you just okayed what I said?
I reviewed the questions. I had an opportunity to review your format, and I listened to your format of responses, and I think the response that you gave was right on to the type of response that I would have provided to Mrs. Coyne, which I did tell her at the prior meeting.
Which was gaslighting and
council meeting,
lies.
I was prepared to do so. And I think the response that you just gave, Michael's organization responded to a request for expression of interest. They are still at that negotiating point and deciding how it's going to proceed. When it comes to something that they're prepared to do, they'll definitely go before the redevelopment entity.
But all right, so they responded to that request for expression of interest. Is it just me, or does it sound a little odd that like the amount of time also that was up? It was like, I feel like it was like a month, maybe a little less than a month. What are the chances that there was a developer out there that's like, hey, what's on Gloucester Township's website? But just so happens to be the Michaels organization of all companies out there that could possibly do it, knew that this was out there, and within that short period of time had a 160-something page document ready to go. Here you go. It's ready to go. Like, they caught it, so it must have just so happened to be maybe day one, maybe day two. Yeah. And like, hey, we have interest. Let's express our interest. We need to put 160 pages together, all this data, all this stuff together. So, did anyone else even know that it was out there? Which is what our point is. Is like it does not have the appearance of being above board. That's kind of what it boils down to. Not saying that it's not, but we're saying it doesn't have the appearance of it.
And now Carlemere doesn't even get to answer questions. It is basically, I mean, look.
Oh, yeah. He's shut down, too.
Right. Council's been shut down since before we ever got involved in any of this stuff. Now he's gone, too.
Yeah.
So now it's basically it's the mayor
king
and Orlando.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that runs the town. All right, so the next question that Denise had in this line of questions was back to, did council ever review this thing?
I also asked whether council members received a copy of the Michaels organization proposal. The council president said he did, but also said I can't speak for anyone else. I did not ask him to speak for anyone else. I clearly asked whether council members received a copy of the proposal. That question still hasn't been answered, and it matters. Whether council received the proposal and when goes directly to whether council knew what they were voting to approve when they passed the consent agenda. So again, when and where did council meet as the redevelopment entity to review and discuss the Michaels proposal before adopting resolution R25:03-106? Has every council member received a copy of the proposal, and if so, when and how was it delivered? This wasn't a routine item. It involves township-owned land and a politically connected developer. It should have been discussed openly as a redevelopment matter, not quietly slipped into a list of routine approvals. And while the council president stated that no development scenario has been finalized, that does not change the fact that the mayor publicly announced a partnership with the Michaels organization at the business breakfast before any public discussion or acknowledgement by this council. At a minimum, residents should be able to expect that this council follows the law, conducts business in the open, and answers public questions respectfully and completely without gaslighting or shifting blame. Thank you.
Did council receive the packet? I know that I received the packet. If any council members from that time period or would like to discuss it or has viewed it, please speak up if you want to. But I know that I received it. I can't speak for everybody here. Again, that was on our agenda. If anyone has any questions regarding
As
that,
he doesn't allow any
Nobody's
time.
jumping up
or
to
they
say,
can speak to
yeah, I got
this
it.
administrator, or if they have any questions, any other person that can direct them in that direction.
I'm surprised Carolyn.
Remember,
Grace
Carolyn Grace was like, I just need to read it one more time.
I need to. I need to review it. I've done it again.
Yeah,
I absolutely have read it. I need to do it again.
Definitely got it.
She was
need
gonna
to review
die
it
on that
again.
hill.
She's gonna die on that hill, and she got it. She's over there like, I don't want to talk about it. And the rest of them are like, I'm not allowed to talk anymore. We've been.
It's so infuriating to just not get answers. You don't deserve them.
Yeah. So Brian Burns, he's come back for the 600th time, asking about the Murray property that's been on Brian Murray's agenda for Brian Burns' agenda.
Right. For years.
For years, asking like, hey, are we getting closer to the Murray property?
Good evening.
Brian Burns, Solwood Drive. I want to get an update on the Murray property. Is there a closing date on that matter? And the other question I had was, is the township has a current ordinance for tree removal and replacement? I perused the website, but I didn't see it there, which is not to say the township does not have one. Several weeks ago, I distributed a DEP template that towns can use for that purpose. So I guess two questions really. The update on the Murray closing and whether the township has a tree removal replacement ordinance, and if not, do they plan to have one sometime in the future?
So the good news is we're targeting mid-July for completion. We have some updates that we're working with the title company. There's some also changes in
the title company, I'm sure.
document, and everything has been being reviewed. It looks very positive for mid-July.
Well, yeah, his wife owns a title company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr.
Mr. Burns also provided some information to us a few weeks ago or a couple months ago regarding tree removal and replacement ordinance.
Planning board, it was also brought up. I brought it up about tree replacement. We don't have anything at this point, but we're looking at doing something in the future.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
All right, to sum it up, the Murray property is it's kind of it's a farm property. There was, back when Brian started all this, was like the Murray and Hayes property. Hayes property, I guess, was acquired.
Yeah.
The Murray property, I think they had some
environmental
contamination.
cleanups or something to do on it. So.
Yeah, so it's basically, we took state money. We took Green Acres money from the state, and because of Brian's persistence, the township was able to purchase that property with the state money. so that it can be preserved as open space and nothing can be developed on it. So that's really important right now too. You're seeing posts all over the place with deer running through neighborhoods and dead animals all over the roads. So really important open space right now where we can get it. So man, we need more people like Brian to push this stuff and to be persistent. And he's done some great things, and we've made some progress on it.
All right, so we had the next person to come up was an interesting one here. Let's just play it. Instead of introducing it, you'll hear it.
Bonita Morrison. It's actually Bonita Joy Morrison. They call me Joy, so ice don't get me. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I've just come to a realization after all these years of sitting in the audience begging for a street that I'm never going to get. If you can't beat them, join them. So I'm here to announce my candidacy for next year. It's going to take me a year. You know, get out there, glad hand, kiss babies, the whole bit. And I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff. And I still have a few good years left in me. So if anybody is stepping back or thinking about resigning or anything like that, and you want to mentor somebody, I'm here. Meanwhile, I'll get at it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right,
There we go.
come on. Now, somebody else that's mad about a street that they've been trying to get for years over in La Cascada. A couple problems here. So nobody's up for re-election next year, so she will not be able to run next year. There is nobody running next year. And two, there's kind of a big problem with La Cascada. And this is the issue here, right? The issue here is this person's mad, and she says, I'm going to run next year. Well, look, one, like I said, there's nothing happening next year. And because you haven't gotten something that you've asked for years, and now all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to pay attention now, and then I'm going to. This is kind of what we've been saying, though. This is kind of like the thing that we've been doing here for years now is to wake people up, make you aware. So when you see somebody just comes up there blindly, and look, her whole neighborhood signed
The phantom candidate,
petitions. Yeah. When you looked at
for Joseph Bracco?
Joe Bracco, this phantom candidate,
every signature on everyone.
that the Democrat machine put up against Keith running for mayor.
Well, allegedly.
Like, allegedly, but certainly, at least as far as I'm concerned, there's. So yeah. So people in this neighborhood, right? They all start signing petitions for a fake guy that's running for mayor, rather than actually knowing that somebody else is running for mayor, and there's other council people running for mayor this year. I don't know why, man, but that really bugs me that you have an issue, and she's been there over and over and over again for years, and I'm like, pay a little bit more attention. It's not just about your street. There's a lot going on here. That's if you understood what's going on.
Everybody about what affects them personally here. You know?
But if she paid more attention, and everybody in La Cascada paid more attention, they would realize what's going on everywhere, and realize that, look, they're not just not doing your street because they don't like you. There's a lot of other things going on. A lot of people
tell they're not doing their street.
So, like, yeah, it's just, I guess it's always one thing,
things.
Right? It's always one thing that somebody goes, hey, I'm going to go to the council meeting, but you have to do more than that. Like, you have to go, and then if you're like, there's just a little more involved. I don't know. That one bugged me, and I'm like,
it seems that they kind of just brush you off when you come to speak your, whatever it is.
Her request to be mentored by somebody.
I think that was being sarcastic.
Yeah, there's no way in hell anybody from the public is just going to be like, hey, I wouldn't mind sitting up there, and they go, oh, really? We're looking for people. Come on up.
No.
If you want to get up there, first they have to try to destroy your life for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's how it works. It's so protected. Those seats
Either
are
that
so
or,
protected up there that they have to try to destroy your life before you can actually get up there. And honestly, since they've been in there, nobody we know has ever gotten up there.
It's, you know what's interesting? In the Camden County area here, there's a lot of. Well, this goes into something else that happened this week. We have one more thing to finish up on the podcast here, but there was the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey had held a summit, I guess you'd call it, or some kind of like a meeting where the public could come and tell about their stories of corruption. What should I be looking into? Because to his credit, he's actually looking into corruption and trying to do something about it, and to build trust in the residents again, because that's a huge problem that no one trusts the government anymore, and especially in New Jersey.
Yeah, especially in New Jersey. It
is what it is. Well, he was held two different sessions. One was in South Jersey and one was in North Jersey. In the South Jersey one, there was a lot of people showed up, but it was amazing, the theme of basically the entire thing. It was held in Burlington County. The entire theme was around Camden County politics and how it all is just dirty, and example after example, and it goes into elections. There's nothing, no one claimed anything was illegal, I guess you could say. It's just dirty loopholes that they find into things. So one of the things that they do in Camden County, I know there's a certain group that likes to talk about this often, but they call it the Camden County Shuffle, where it's like a commissioner or something might be, they're coming up on election, but there's another job open up over here, so they're going to take you out of that position and put you over here, and that frees up that position, which now this person goes into there, and you're always switching positions and moving around, and you don't ever have to run as a brand new person to that role. You're coming into that role as an incumbent. And if you think about it, we might have already started doing that locally here, because all these big picture things that they do kind of trickle down and start getting into the local towns. And if you think about, Dan Hutchison ran for LD4, so he moved up, and Troxel went into his position. Moriarty, yeah. So Troxel now, she's been on the ballot. Was it almost now 3 times in a row? Like 3. Well, is it 2 times?
She hasn't actually been on the ballot. She's come in afterwards, like twice.
Right.
Like after somebody leaves,
what's the other trick they're going to be pulling with this, kind of stuff? But
yeah,
I don't know. It's
you get moved up. Grace came from school board, moved up into there. It's like they shuffle things around. But everything's a farm system for the next thing.
This lady, she might have a chance. There might be some kind of movement happening, and when they say, you know what, let's go get Bonita Morrison. Maybe she's in, but they'll probably end up doing what they usually do and get somebody that's tied in with the sports or schools or something like that.
Probably one of Hutchinson's other kids. I mean, he's got like every one of his kids somewhere in some kind of office now. So yeah, we're at the point now where like all of their children are going to start filling positions because nobody else can penetrate it. But yeah,
it's that shuffle thing. Is that shuffle?
Yeah, but like you were saying, people from all different towns around came in with the same kind of stories.
Yeah, the same stories, and you're like, I need to talk to you, and I need to talk to you. And it was good because after we left there was a bunch of numbers exchanged with people and stuff like that, and you're like, hey, listen, this is what we need to all work together because it's all one big puzzle, and I might have a few pieces that you need, and you might have a few pieces that he needs, and to put all these things together. But it is 100% a game that they play. That if you're not, if you don't know, you don't have the rule book in your hand, you don't know. You have to try to figure out what the pieces are, and it's a lot of loophole figuring out of what we can do here and using rules to your advantage. And it's just like it's sickening that this is the level of like. That they go to try to retain power. It's like it's all about power and money.
Two phantom candidates almost made it into this election.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke on that. I spoke on phantom candidates and what they try to do to you to try to tear you down, publicly humiliate you, do whatever it is that they do to make sure that you don't dare challenge power. You don't let somebody else think that they can dare challenge power. That's not right. That's not how it's supposed to be. But anyway.
No. One final thing. So we can start off with.
Because Denise was bringing up the Nike base thing, right? That was the talk that we had. So I guess Council President, who's part of the Norcross machine, allegedly, had an issue with that and said something about how another Norcross. Here, let me just play it.
So Michael's
I'll let
a
him
developer, and Ms. Corn made a comment about a politically connected developer. So we had a politically connected piece of land off of 42 that was a farm that was bought by a hospital years ago, and people were upset about who's the chairman of the board of that particular hospital. That parcel of land was farmland assessed, and we brought about $6,000 in farmland assessed taxes for a 60-acre site. That particular site right now is the largest taxpayer in the district, and it happens to house the Gloucester Township Premium Outlets. So the Nike parcel has stood vacant for many, many, many years. Here's an opportunity to do something with that. This organization responded to it for expression of interest, and the council here moved forward to give a conditional approval, and they will move forward in the redevelopment process through the redevelopment entity and the planning board.
Well, just because it brought in, it's the highest paying tax dollar, how much did it cost to get to that point?
Let's talk about this thing here. So so it's farmland, $6,000 in taxes, right? And he makes it sound like, that's a big win. The Norcross came in and it helped us all. It was a big win for the township. So how this happened, right? Farmland, $6,000 in taxes, worth, I think it was like $2 million for this land. So Norcross comes in, buys it. They tell everybody, we're going to hospital. Yeah, we're thinking about putting like Cooper Hospital here, and everybody is just they want.
Oh, this is great.
They want the hospital. They absolutely. So then we start talking about, we're going to need all this infrastructure to get over to there. You got all the circles, you got the overpass, right? So we start funding all that stuff to do all this stuff. And then we change the zoning too. It's not farmland anymore. Now it's commercial. So now it's not worth $2 million anymore. It's worth like $9 million. So then right before we're getting ready to do a hospital thing, Norcross, you know what?
Change our mind.
We're not going to do hospital stuff anymore.
We're going to get rid of this.
Sells it. Makes an enormous profit off of it. Sells it to like Simon Properties. They buy it for like, I thought they bought it for like,
yeah, I don't know the
14 or
details
15.
of the story,
It's been a long time.
I don't know.
But essentially,
I know the story happened.
They buy it for a ton of money. Norcross makes a boatload of money, and then they come back and they go and then Simon asks to reassess it, and they go, look, it's not really worth all this money. So can we get like a break on the taxes on that? Like, can we lower that now?
Yeah.
So now we've spent this money on the infrastructure around it because we were swindled into thinking that it was going to be a hospital.
Yeah.
So
well, you can still say, oh, look, it's the highest paying tax. Okay. Well, what did it cost us?
Not the win that he really thinks it is.
Well, you can paint a picture however you want, right? So they say that we paint a picture the way we want it. That, we're painting a picture one way.
Occasionally they do something that I like, and I say that I like it. So it's not. I don't hate everything.
So I'll paint a picture for you. And I know people online called me of it. So this recently, during this, this campaigning season, I guess you call it. For me, out talking to different people, there was a few people in the Glen Oaks section of town that have an abandoned house. Kind of right as soon as you pull in off of Cedar Creek Avenue, go around the bend, and there's a house. And I've known of this house myself for several years, at least 5 years myself. But I know that everybody's the abandoned house that's over there, because people will call you out like somehow like one of your signs like I don't control every single sign that goes up in town. Other people were helping put those out or something, but it wasn't me. It was somebody else. I forget which school board member, but there was somebody that was running for school board that a sign of theirs ended up on that property. And somebody called them out for it. So I'm aware that house exists, right? Well, the neighbors have to deal with this house. So anyway, I went over there to go see what this was because they had the stories that they had of rodents going in and out, and like it's a bad situation. So I went over there, did a video to try to like help bring attention to it because it seems to be that's the only way things get brought up when people are calling me at Valley Brook saying, "Dude, we have to deal with these nasty looking trucks that are parked over here and all this." So you do a video about it, and the next thing you know, look at that, it got cleaned up. So kind of the same thing happened with this house. A couple thousand views on the video, and they go out there and go fix it. Well, because that video came out, other people started reaching out to me. Hey, you got to come take a look at this. Come to my house. So now I got a list of these houses. I'm like, all right. So I go check out and see what they are and see if I can help them bring attention to their problem that's there. And it's funny because, well, I think I mentioned it in the video that I'm going to play here for you. But while I was out doing this, it just crossed my mind that, like, hold on a second. Like, we're saying that these people here need to be fined because they have a house that's fallen apart or dilapidated or a property that they have. I said, the mayor's office has a property that's dilapidated too, that we're just letting go. You and I went there and did a story about this here.
Historic property.
Yeah, a historic. Here, let's play it, but most of what we're talking about is going to be repeated, I think, in this video. Is it? What do you have it on? 7?
Hey guys, Keith Gibbons here.
Hey, that's me.
Observer. I've been stopping at some places that people have messaged me about, saying that they had neighbors with abandoned properties, and to see some of the things that they're dealing with, and a lot of it is definitely a nuisance, but at the same time, I feel like I wouldn't want government stepping in and telling me what I had to do with my property, but there is a line that gets crossed where you're affecting someone else's quality of life through your decision. So there is something there. It's just a really fine line, I guess to say, but it had me thinking back about a property that the public owns that we are leaving in disrepair, which is Maffa's farm here behind me. And this property here, back when we did a story on this, I want to say it might have been 2 years ago or so at this point now, we talked about it's kind of demolition by neglect. And the property over here, there are probably a ton of code violations on this particular property. We have there's a motorhome parked here. The grass is really tall up front and overgrown weeds everywhere. It's just kind of I don't know. It stuck out as hypocritical, if you will, that we're citing people who have their property and what they're doing with it, yet we're not doing anything with this property over here. So I'm not sure how many more of the abandoned property videos I will actually go do. I do feel really bad for people that live, next door to some of those things there, but this particular property here, I think, is probably something we should, I don't want to say focus on again, but bring back to light that why is this abandoned for so long? Why have we done nothing about it? It's a historical site. It's on the state registry, but yet we just leave it abandoned and haven't done anything at all with it. From stories that I'd heard from looking into it in the past, it was a political thing that our mayor doesn't want to do anything with it, allegedly because it was somebody, a former mayor, wanted to do something with it. So out of spite, these are all, obviously, these are, stories or speculations or things like that. I don't have any actual, facts around that, but it is curious, though, if those theories could potentially be correct. It makes sense why we would just leave this site abandoned. Yeah, I'll show you some of the obvious code violations that are currently, as I'm standing here now. Yeah, here we have a camper parked on grass, which I know people get fined for having at their own homes. There are beehives over there. I'm not sure whose they are, but I'm sure you or I would not be allowed to put our beehives over there. Yeah, so I don't know if you remember what this property looked like before when we were here, but it's fenced in around it, and there's a ton of weeds growing around the outside.
And there
But
are
up on
neighbors
the
right
main
there.
street
Like that's
that you can
neighbors'
see that
houses
everybody
right there.
passes by is kind of the part that if that was your neighbor next door, you would be calling about code violations. But yet our own property looks like this. Yeah, so this is the front of the property from the street. And as you can see, it's overgrown just like that other property, that other
Oh my
house.
God, it's loud.
Yeah, so anyway, that was just my thought when I was going around to these other places, and this place popped into my head, reminding me that we have our own dilapidated property, that's publicly owned. That one particular house that I did that original video about, that is a property that's been years and years and years of neglect over there. Some of the other ones that are calling, while definitely a nuisance, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what we can do about any of these things. I'm not saying I have a solution for any of them. I'm just calling attention to it. It's for the GT Observer. I'm out observing. So I'll see you guys all soon. Thanks.
Yeah, thank God that's over. It's really loud.
Yeah, that one in Glen Oaks, I don't think anybody really knows who owns it. We came across the name in Edison, but then somebody was also telling me that could just be a person that bought the tax lien.
Well, I guess that is true too. Yeah, but there is a one of the neighbors that property did get cleaned up. So shortly after I put that video out, oh yeah, it's cleaned up today. They called and said, thank you. They came out. The code enforcement guy stopped by and said that, believe it or not, we were in court with them yesterday, over this whole thing. So somehow it very well could be. I'm not saying it's not, but they're claiming that, court was held, and I don't know what the outcome was, but they were just in court fighting that. So if they were in court, that might be the person that's that bought it. But there's stories of who it is and whose property and whatnot. But listen, the taxes are being paid. Somebody knows who's paying the taxes. But it's a problem. Anyway, there's I don't really have much else. I mean, I think we're going on decent amount of time still. There was another interesting story too. I guess we're kind of going off topic of the podcast. We're just rolling into just conversation.
I usually roll these things an hour and a half or 43 minutes in, so yeah. we got time.
There was I got calls. I put a video out about something that I can't really say yet for certain too much about, but I do have some facts that I guess I could say.
Oh, I know you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about the Fire District 5 over Lamb's Terrace. Yeah, so I stopped over there, and I mean, typically, anytime I go by there, there's cars that are up front and everything. That it just seems like there's always people there. It's a 24-hour paid, firehouse. Well, somebody called me and said that the Camden County Prosecutor's Office was over there and made some allegations about what happened, and I said, I don't know anything about the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, but I can go find out. So I drove down to Camden because I couldn't get any answers over the phone. So I went down to Camden. Didn't get any answers there.
Huh.
Went to the firehouse and saw that there was no activity around. Like I said, typically seems like there's
closed up, huh?
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I just did a video because again, I didn't have any information about it, and there's a driveway that goes around the back. But I mean, when I looked in, it didn't look like there were any cars there or whatever. But I just said there's no one around because typically, again, there usually are. So somebody on the video was like, you get your nosy butt out of there. Of course there's people there 24 hours a day. Well, there was. When I recorded that, I didn't see anybody around, and I wasn't saying that there was no one manning the place. It was just, it's not activity. I'm not going to go bother them with this question because I didn't get an answer I had answers coming, but wasn't going to go bother some random guy that's stationed out there. He doesn't know the answer. You know what I mean? There's a commissioner meeting coming up on Tuesday, so answers can be had there. But I did want to get it out there because it was really frustrating me that I'm sure that what they alleged, if it were true, was going to end up on the news somehow before I get down there to try to answer what is publicly available information right now about what I heard happen. Even just verify that something did happen. So what was verified to me from the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, as they said, that on the 23rd, which I believe was Monday, the Camden County Prosecutor's Office went out there because there were alleged charges of theft of public funds from that firehouse that were reported to the Gloucester Township Police. So the Gloucester Township Police reported to the Camden County Prosecutor's Office, and they said no arrests were made at this time. So when I was down there, somebody did come out, and I just asked them, hey, is there any truth to anybody being arrested down here? And they went, nope. I said, no, nobody came here. There was nothing. Nope. I just gave me the nope answer, and that was it. So I didn't mention it in the video because I'd already done recording, and he came out after I was getting ready to leave. So in order to not, I'm not trying to put this public employee on blast. I didn't put them in the video or edit them into it or anything. I just kind of left it as is. But somebody still had a problem with me, even putting it out there at all. Probably because there might be something to it because so in looking into it a little further, I did find some interesting stuff that I don't want to say too much about because I submitted a request for the court records to get a better understanding of it because it's not something I want to get wrong if it's not right. So I don't want to say it, but
and
what they did say, what the allegations were, the past thing that it all ties together, and it's very concerning if that is the case.
And for years we've been emailed about this particular location from credible sources that we haven't known enough about to where we could really report on them. Right. And it's one of those things. Like we're not. Yeah, I feel like you got to be careful when you go after first responders because it has to be 100%.
Yeah, these guys are. Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody deserves to be, lied about. But when you're putting yourself in a position of, being an elected official, that you're.
Yeah, you cross the line. I mean,
you're talking to people that you're supposed to represent as if they're a piece of trash. That's different than somebody who's right, first responder. But so that's why I'm being very respectful about what is out there. But that's what was told to me by the tips and leads person, led me down this trail, and then the Camden County Prosecutor's Office sent me an email afterwards. Even though I was there, they can't say something there. They put it in writing later on though, and said, yes, there was a visit. That had to do with somebody reporting to the Gloucester Township Police. Reporting, I'm not saying that anything, definitely happened. And they said no arrests were made at this time, but it was about theft of public funds. So public funds is all of our money.
Well, if you have any inside info,
hit us up.
Joe at gtobserver.com, Keith at gtobserver.com. Yep. You can also join the GT Observer Podcast Facebook group.
Yep.
Once you're inside, you can post anonymously if you have any tips. You want to share it with the rest of the people in that group in a discussion. And then I was just going to go to subscribe next.
Make sure you guys subscribe.
So, subscribe. Find us on Facebook, on YouTube. We're on X. And gtobserver.com is where you can find all of the information for us.
Yep.
Like I said, join our Facebook group too. There's some. It's been a little bit slow on discussions in there, but the point of that is to anonymously post anything that you want to just air out or you want us to investigate. Post it in there. We'll take a look.
Yep. All right, folks.
That's pretty much it.
We will see you soon.
We'll see you guys probably do something else in about a week or so.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you.
See y'all.